Welcome to Dark Character Profiler. Take a deep dive into the background and personalities of villains from books, video games, manga, and comics. Psychological analysis of some of the most deviant and heinous characters of all time. Now, here's Fulcrum.
Welcome to Dark Character Profiler, where we step into the minds of fiction's most infamous figures. I'm Fulcrum, your host and guide into the shadows. Each episode, I take you beyond the story and into the psychology, exploring motives, diagnoses, and the darker truths that drive these characters. Together, we'll uncover what makes them tick, what breaks them, and why their darkness continues to fascinate us. Let's begin.
Dark Character Profile.
Case log 0022. Subject Uldren Sov, alias Crow. The file landed on my desk late one evening, no signature, no classification tag, just a note that read, "He killed one of the Vanguard, and now he's one of them." I'd heard the story. Everyone in the city had. Uldren Sov, the Queen's brother, the traitor who murdered Cade 6 in cold blood, the man executed for his crimes. And then, somehow, he's back. But not as a ghost story, as a guardian. The resurrected man called himself Crow, claimed no memory of his past, and yet carried a guilt that didn't belong to him. The Vanguard wanted to know what kind of danger they were harboring. Was this a second chance, or the same monster behind a different mask? That's where I came in. My job was to determine whether redemption was possible, or if the light had made a fatal mistake.
This is going to hurt. A lot. Any last words? How's your sister?
Case file, Uldren Sov. Filed by myself, Fulcrum. Date, redacted. Classification, identity reconstruction, post-homicidal redemption study. Case summary. At approximately the close of the Reef Wars period, Uldren Sov, male awoken, sibling to Queen Mara Sov, was implicated in the premeditated homicide of Vanguard hunter Cade 6. The killing occurred inside the Prison of Elders during an attempted extraction mission later referred to as the Forsaken Incident. Following apprehension and execution by the Guardian, the body of Uldren Sov was recovered and, through undocumented light manifestation, resurrected by a ghost, later identified as Glint. The revived subject, self-identified as Crow, presented with complete retrograde amnesia regarding all pre-death memories and affiliations. Initial Vanguard intelligence reports described significant social hostility toward the subject, frequent episodes of emotional blunting, and self-directed guilt once informed of his prior identity. Referral authorized by Vanguard Commander Zavala to determine 1. Present mental stability and suitability for continued Guardian operations. 2. Degree of residual identity contamination from pre-death personality. And 3. Risk assessment for recurrence of violent or delusional behavior. Background information. Uldren Sov originated on pre-collapse Earth and became awoken within the gravitational anomaly of the Distributary. Serving as spymaster and right hand of Queen Mara Sov, he demonstrated superior tactical reasoning, manipulative intelligence, and obsessive loyalty. Exposure to the Taken corruption via the Ahamkara ribbon initiated progressive paranoia and persecutory delusions, specifically auditory and visual hallucinations of his sister's captivity. Under these delusions, he executed Cade 6, believing the act would free Mara. Post-resurrection, Crow exhibits a markedly different temperament: cooperative, altruistic, and conflict avoidant. Despite lacking direct memory continuity, he experiences an inherited sense of moral debt toward the community once victimized by his prior self. Trauma history. Event type: cosmic and existential trauma. Collapse of identity during the Awoken Genesis. Manifestation: persistent dissociation, questions of origin, and destiny. Event type: psychological manipulation by Riven and the Taken. Manifestation: intrusive imagery, external control delusions. Event type: death and resurrection. Manifestation: classic quote-unquote ego death, leading to identity void, amnesia, and depersonalization. And finally, event type: social rejection post-resurrection. Manifestation: chronic shame, avoidance, and hyper-awareness of stigma. Mental status examination. General appearance: neat, vigilant posture and scanning environment. Mood and affect: restricted but congruent, occasional melancholic tone. Speech: soft-spoken, coherent, and introspective phrasing. Thought process: linear. Themes of destiny, atonement, and identity. Thought content: no active psychosis, recurrent guilt ideation. Cognition: superior tactical and linguistic functioning, and insight and judgment. Substantial: displays remorse and deliberate self-regulation. Personality profile using the Big 5 personality traits. Openness: high. Philosophical and receptive to meaning-making. Conscientiousness: high. Structured and mission-driven. Extroversion: low to moderate. Selective engagement, wary of trust. Agreeableness: high. Cooperative and empathetic. Neuroticism: moderate to high. Anxiety and guilt reactivity. Behavioral themes: devotion evolving into penitence. Avoidance of dominance, compensatory altruism, and self-sacrificing tendencies. Moral beliefs and ideology. Crow's ethical framework has shifted from devotional absolutism, such as service to Mara Sov, to deontological humanism, the belief that right action stems from empathy, not hierarchy. He equates morality with restraint and repair. Quote unquote, do no more harm, even if harm was once all I knew. Interpersonal relationships. Mara Sov: ambivalent attachment, admiration mixed with apprehension of control. The Guardian, also known as the player character, represents moral witness. Relationship mirrors restorative justice dynamic. Glint: primary secure attachment, functions as corrective emotional base. The Vanguard: variable acceptance. Intermittent microaggressions maintain social anxiety. Attachment style: anxious avoidant. improved through continued positive reinforcement. Comparison to historical figures. 1. Emperor Ashoka, 268 BC to 232 BC. Initially a ruthless conqueror, Ashoka went through a dramatic conversion after the Kalinga War, renouncing violence and dedicating his life to compassion and ethical governance. Crow's path from destructive zeal to peaceful service reflects the same moral metamorphosis. 2. Ignaz Semmelweis, 1818 to 1865. A physician who endured ridicule and ostracism after advocating for hand disinfection to prevent maternal deaths. His moral conviction and isolation mirror Crow's alienation and commitment to principled change in a hostile environment. 3. Fyodor Dostoevsky, 1821 to 1881. After a mock execution and years in Siberian imprisonment, Dostoevsky experienced a spiritual awakening that defined his later work on guilt, suffering, and redemption. His inner transformation parallels Crow's rebirth from shame to self-understanding. Before we continue with the episode, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who've been listening and supporting Dark Character Profiler. Every play, every follow, every vote on the polls really helps shape the direction of this show. I started this project because I wanted to dig deeper into the psychology of dark and complex characters. But it's the conversations with you, the listeners, that keep it alive. Your support means more than I can say, and I'm grateful to have you here with me each week as we explore the darker corners of fiction together.
Dark Character Profile.
Criminal and violent behaviors. The crimes of Uldren Sov are many, but his primary offenses include the murder of Cade 6, his alliance with the Scorn, and release of the prisoners from the prison of elders, and finally, desecration of the dreaming city through blasphemy, betrayal, and catastrophic endangerment of his people. His mental state, Uldren became delusional under Taken influence, and his post-resurrection behavior. He has shown no signs of recidivism. The only violence he commits is in self-defense. His forensic risk is low as he is organized and empathetic, but can be moderate under coercion.
And now, the final analysis. But first, just a little house cleaning.
This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. While we use the DSM-5 as a framework to provide psychological analyses of fictional characters, the discussions are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide professional mental health advice. The interpretations shared are based on hypothetical scenarios and creative exploration and should not be applied to actual individuals or situations. For mental health concerns or diagnoses, please consult a licensed professional. Listener discretion is advised.
Dark Character Profile.
Psychological testing. MMPI-2-RF, or Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory 2 restructured form. Uldren Sov, or Crow, displayed elevated stress, anxiety, and low positive affect. PCLR, or Psychopathy Checklist Revised. Crow scored a 6 out of 40, meaning he is non-psychopathic. Beck Depression Inventory 2. Crow displays moderate depression linked to guilt. And finally, Moral Injury Inventory. Crow scored high for guilt and betrayal. DSM-5 TR Diagnostic Impressions. 1. Post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic. Requirement: exposure, intrusion, avoidance, negative mood and cognition, arousal symptoms, and experiences last longer than 1 month. Criteria met. A. Multiple traumas: battle, death, corruption. B. Intrusive dreams and flash imagery. C. Avoids reminders of Uldren Sov. D. Negative self-beliefs, guilt, and shame. E. Hypervigilance, startle response, and sleep disturbance. All of the required criteria have been met for a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. Major depressive disorder, recurrent, moderate. Requirement: at least 5 out of 9 symptoms, and at least 2 weeks including depressed mood or anhedonia. Criteria met: low mood, guilt, anhedonia, fatigue, and worthlessness. All of the criteria has been met for a diagnosis of major depressive disorder. Persistent complex bereavement, partial. Yearning for lost relationships, such as Mara Sov and Cade 6. Intrusive longing that has lasted at least 12 months. Crow displays a partial presentation. 4. Dissociative identity disturbance, trauma-linked. Identity split, Uldren versus Crow, without separate agency. Symbolic integration process, not pathological. Final impressions. Uldren Sov, or Crow, exemplifies the rare post-mortem rehabilitation arc, psychological resurrection through literal death. He exhibits chronic PTSD and major depression secondary to compound trauma and moral injury, but demonstrates full insight, empathy, and adaptive control. His risk factors, such as trauma triggers and guilt, are offset by protective factors, including social support, altruistic mission focus, and secure attachment to glint. Clinical conclusion. Rehabilitated trauma survivor. Stable identity integration underway. Forensic conclusion. Low risk for violence, strong moral reasoning capacity. Philosophical interpretation. Redemption is not memory. It is choice repeated daily. That concludes this profile on the darker corners of the mind. Whether born from trauma, obsession, or the lust for power, these characters remind us just how thin the line is between order and chaos. If you found this analysis compelling, make sure to follow Dark Character Profiler on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, and share this episode with others who dare to peek into the shadows. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and remember, the darkness is always closer than it seems.
Thank you for listening to Dark Character Profiler with Fulcrum. Listen every other Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts. Humanity was not meant to live this way. Society is left to the mercy of murderers and cutthroats. Hear Paige Zaplin Dam's epic tale brought to life in an audiobook. For years, Slade had felt secure in the forest. I am from simple, humble beginnings. I was raised in the Ironwood by an ogress, an Anaral.
He saw immediately that she was beyond a healer's aid. Even a skilled witch could not help her recover from losing so much blood.
Mother? Slade thought he wanted revenge. Instead, he got redemption. A kingdom of ash and steam. The Ogress's Son. A dystopian neo-Dark Age fantasy. Narrated by Rich Fraser. Now available on iTunes and Audible.
I promise you I will find whoever did this and avenge you, Mother.